Okay, hi everybody. I hope everyone's here. Sorry, we're just checking the audio and making sure there's no reverb through the phone.
Sounds good.
Okay, great. Thanks everybody. All right, I guess we'll get started. I am going to today talk to you a little bit about the American style pumpkin roll, and then we're going to go into making another type of roll cake that is delicious. It has whipped cream and it's called a cake of roulette, and that's from Iran. So the first thing we're going to do today is work on the pumpkin cake, get it in the oven, and we'll kind of be going back and forth just so we can get it all in in hopefully 1 hour. What, honey?
I just need to just quickly.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, just a little technical issue.
Okay, sorry. All right. So to start the pumpkin roll, if you're cooking along with me, you would need to measure out your ingredients. I went ahead and pre-measured them just to make things easier and go a little faster for me. So the first thing we're going to do is get our pan out that we're going to use. We're going to turn the oven on to 375 and we're going to use a cookie sheet. Get that out and go ahead and spray it with some, I use, just a regular cooking spray or Pam, whatever store brand you have. So let's spray our cookie sheet. And set it aside. Next thing we're going to do is using a pretty large bowl, because this is going to make a pretty nice amount of dough that's going to go into the pan. We're going to go ahead and mix together the eggs, cinnamon, nutmeg, pumpkin puree, and the white sugar. And I'm going to be using a hand mixer. So I'm going to go ahead and put my eggs in. That's 3 large eggs. We're going to use 1 cup of white sugar. I'm going to put 2/3 of a cup of pumpkin puree in there. I've already gone ahead and mixed up my cinnamon and nutmeg, or you could also just go ahead and use pumpkin pie spice if you'd rather. And it says that you're going to use a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon and a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. I probably used a little bit more than that because I do really enjoy that pumpkin pie spice in my batter. And then I think that's everything in there. So we're going to go ahead and mix that quickly with the electric hand mixer. Okay, just make sure it's mixed pretty well. Twist and twist. Here we go. Now in another small bowl, you're going to put you've got your flour and your baking soda. Mix those together. And that's just so that it'll all incorporate well once you put it into the pumpkin mixture here below. And the reason that we go ahead and we mix the wet ingredients first is so that we don't overbeat the flour mixture. The more you beat the flour mixture, the tougher the dough is going to get. So we want to go ahead. Oh, be careful there. Okay, hang on here. All right. So I'm going to turn the mixer back on, and then I'm just going to slowly pour this in until it's all incorporated. My assistant reminded me that if you have any questions, you can always put them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask them out loud. That'd be fine. Okay, so now I'm going to just use a spatula to make sure I've gotten all the way to the bottom, because sometimes when you're using a hand mixture, it seems like it doesn't get those edges around the bottom of your bowl. So make sure it's all mixed well. Now, we're going to go ahead and grab that pan again and pour this into the pan. And then smooth it out evenly. It's going to seem very thin, but that's fine. It's going to puff up a little bit, but it needs to be thin in order to roll. So as you can see, the cake part of this was really simple to make. And I know every year different organizations will offer pumpkin rolls around this time of year. And they're good, but again, you know, they're not the freshest because you're buying them and probably freezing them. And it's just so easy to do yourself. Other grocery stores and other shops also will sell them, but again, you know, they're a little expensive, and there might be some preservatives in there you're not going to be too happy about. So it's really simple and easy to make your own. Okay, there you go. All righty, I will hand this off, and this is going to go into a 375 oven for about 15 minutes, and then we'll check it. So we're going to go ahead and turn the timer on for that. 15 minutes. And here we go. Okay, I'm back. Can you rinse those for me, please? I'm going to get my assistant to rinse those beaters for me while I'm talking to you. So welcome to the second episode of World Kitchen. As I mentioned, if some of you weren't quite in the room yet, we're doing the American style pumpkin roll today for your fall holidays. And then we're also going to do a really fun, fluffy whipped cream rolled cake that could be used again for your fall holidays or even into the winter holidays, because it's really pretty and fluffy and kind of snow-like. Looked up a couple of things just because I was interested. Actually, pumpkin is a fruit, which I hadn't realized. It's a winter squash, but it's technically considered a fruit, and it's native to North America. It's one of the oldest domestic plants in the US. But another interesting fact is that other countries have really gotten on the bandwagon with pumpkin, and now China and India together grow more than half of the world's pumpkins. That was an interesting fact I found. Another great thing about pumpkin is that it is full of vitamins A and C and beta carotene, which is great for us. So, you know, gives us a good reason to eat pumpkin. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is make the filling for our pumpkin roll. So I have had my cream cheese sitting out to get a little bit warmed up. Of course, it doesn't blend very well if it's super cold. So I am going to be putting this into the bowl.
Tamra, can you use whipped cream cheese, or you have to use the block?
I think the block works better, and honestly, it's much cheaper. So unless it's just a matter of, Alice, can you give me that spatula, please? Unless it's just a matter of you have it and you want to use it, I would suggest just using the block. Sorry, I'm getting my other spatula here. There we go.
How long does it take, Tamra, for that cream cheese to, I haven't had mine out for about 45 minutes and it still seems really cold.
You seem to be frozen in the normal view. Your overhead is working though, but there is no sound from the overhead.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, are we still on my phone? Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, that works.
We hear you now.
Okay, sorry. It looks like the internet just went out here at home, which was another unexpected happening. So we're trying to get that reset, but right now I'll just use the overhead on my phone and keep going as long as you guys can hear everything.
And there was a request, Tamra, to slow down just a little bit. They had one guest who was working along with you and they said their sponge wasn't in the oven yet. So hopefully this
Okay,
delay maybe has given them a chance to catch up.
sure, no problem. All right, I'm going to
There we go. Now I should be able to hear better.
okay. There we go. Oh, hang on now.
And immediately.
The internet came back, so just a second.
All right. Turn that off. Turn that down. All right. Let's see if that. Oh, it's definitely still echoing.
There's a little feedback, Tam, between the two.
Oh, right. The microphone's on. Right, that's right. Sorry.
Hi, do you have to grease a non-stick pan? Will it come out easily?
We lost audio for you, Tam.
Unmute there. Okay.
All right.
So all technical issues should be fixed now.
My tech crew is attempting to put everything back where it was.
Oops, sorry. You want the top view, right?
Yes, the top.
Okay, cool.
All
There you
right. We all set now?
Yeah, so the person before it just said that, could you slow down because there's sponges in the
Right.
oven yet.
Okay. All right. So if you're cooking along, and sorry about all the technical issues here, but if you're cooking along and you are still working on getting the cake into the oven, go right ahead and I'll slow this down just a little bit. So as I was saying, I left my cream cheese out for probably a couple of hours, and it's not super soft, as you can see, but it is, I can mush it down with the spatula. So now into the cream cheese, we're going to go ahead and add, we're going to go ahead and add the confectioner sugar, and that is 1 cup. And then we're also going to add about a 1/4 teaspoon of real vanilla extract. can you switch out and give me that? Yeah, there you go. All right, and now we'll go ahead and mix that up. Okay. Now, as you can see, it's nice and mixed together. It's got kind of a nice creamy color. It's not snow white. It's because of the vanilla, it's gotten nice and cream colored. And again, I just make sure that at the bottom of my bowl, all that confectioner's sugar has gotten incorporated because it tends to kind of not catch with the mixer.
Someone says I wasn't able to find rose water. Any suggested substitutes?
Okay, well, the question in the chat about the rose water, that's for later for the cake roulette. Yeah, if you don't have rose water, you can always just use vinegar, vanilla. Vanilla is a good substitute for the rose water. It will color it a little bit, whereas the rose water wouldn't, but it's not a big deal. You're not going to use enough of it to really make a big difference. And if you would like to find that later, you can, if you're local here in the State College area, you can find it generally at Wegmans in the international section or at the Allen Street International Market. And if you're not, and you don't have an international market near you, you can always order it online. You can generally get it through several different Middle Eastern stores that you can just Google Middle Eastern online market, or even on Amazon. Okay, so this is now ready for when our pumpkin roll comes out and has cooled. We're going to put that in the refrigerator for a little while to cool down. And I'm going to switch over to our next recipe, but I'll give those of you who are still working a minute as I get those ingredients out. Could you please wash those items for me? Okay.
Great assistant, Tamra.
Yeah, he's a big help. And he's even wearing an old WPSU t-shirt, so he's got it going on. All right. The next thing we're going to do is work on the cake roulette, and I'm going to show you my technique for getting that pan ready. So again, we're going to just use the same temperature of oven. So if you were making both, or if you're making them separately, it doesn't matter, but it's 375 for that oven to be preheated. And again, you're going to use the same thing, a cookie sheet, or if you have a jelly roll pan, something like that. And the size isn't critical. If you've got a 10 by 15 or an 11 by 17, it doesn't really matter. Whatever you have is fine. So for this one, we are going to spray the pan, but we're also going to flour it because this batter is a little bit different and it will stick a little bit more. So what did I do with my spray? Here we go. We're going to go ahead and spray this well. And then we're going to take just some flour and put it on the pan. Well, that's okay, keep it forward. And then we're just gonna tap to kind of get it to all go down where we want it. I'm trying to do this so that you can see. Normally I would do it a little quicker and a little messier, but as you see, when you keep tapping it, it'll kind of go all over the pan. And that's just to ensure that you get it on all of the pan, but not too much. And if you happen to have, mine seems to be just about right, but if you happen to have a lot of flour left after you kind of tapped it all around, you can just take it over to your garbage can or your sink and tap it off like that. Okay, so now we've got the pan prepared. We're going to sit it aside. How's everybody doing with that first one? Are we ready to move on? Or are you still working on the cake?
There's a question.
Okay.
Could you use baker's spray that is oil/flour combined?
I think I did have that at some point. I had the baker's spray that has the flour somehow combined in it. I don't understand the technology behind that, but I think it works. So if you do have that, go ahead. It should be okay. We're going to use a big wide spatula to break this away from the pan once it's cooled a little bit anyway. So if there is any sticking, we'll take care of that with that wide spatula. But I think that should work just fine. Okay.
Tapping.
All right. So this cake is a little bit different, and it does require 2 containers. So I'm using 2 large mixing bowls. We're going to need 4 eggs. So I have my 4 eggs. And one of the things I was going to say too, I know when my dad used to watch me cook, he was always surprised that I could separate the egg and the yolk. He always had trouble with that. So the way I do it, and maybe everybody does too, but the way I've learned to do it is to go ahead and give it a good hit on the side of the bowl, break it in half. And as you do that, let the yolk rest in one side of the eggshell and then pour it into the other one. And the egg white will drop out, and then put your yolk into the separate bowl. Okay, we're going to do that with all 4 eggs.
Switch the view whenever you're ready.
Hmm?
I can switch the view whenever you're ready.
Oh, okay.
You're definitely a pro with that, Tamra. I have tried that over and over and failed miserably.
Well, there's also this nifty little gadget that I used to have, and I don't know what happened to it. I think it was a Tupperware thing once I had that was an egg separator, and it worked really well too. Just had kind of a little yolk catcher with holes in the side, and the whites just, dripped right out. Let me rinse my hands.
The very best egg separator is your hand and fingers. We were just watching the British baking show right before this, and the guy that's on there, he just dumped the egg in his hand, and you just let the egg white go right between your fingers and the yolk in your hand. There's nothing more, and it works well. Just wash your hands first.
Yeah. You want to check? I think I heard the oven beeping. Are we about done with that cake pumpkin roll?
It doesn't look very.
It's not very brown. Let me check that real quick, guys.
Sorry.
Isn't that on?
Oh, did you turn the lower one on again? You did.
Yeah, oh, sorry. All right. For me.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
another technical difficulty. We'll get it going. So that's a great idea about using your fingers. It's a little messier, but not too much. So for this one, we're going to first work with the egg yolks. And we are going to, in the egg yolk bowl, add in the vanilla, which I already have pre-measured here. And the thing about this, it says to mix for 5 minutes. And I know that sounds like a really long time and it feels like a really long time, but as you're doing it, you're gonna see the color difference and the way that the egg changes, the consistency changes. And it says here that it should be thick and lemon colored, deep yellow. And that's what you're looking for, is that really deep yellow color, not necessarily the color of the egg, but a little lighter lemony color. Let me put my mixer back together here. Should we put that back on for 15 minutes, Alex?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I don't know about anybody else, but I'm pleasantly surprised that Tamra, who is, I consider an expert chef, is using a hand mixer. I think that's great because I always think you have to buy those fancy schmancy things.
No, well, you know, I like using these for a lot of things. I mean, my son Alex, who's my assistant here, he makes a great pizza dough that we use pretty frequently, and he uses the big, you know, KitchenAid stand mixer, and he loves it. You know, I think he really wouldn't make the dough any other way, but the hand mixer works really well for these smaller things. So, like as you can see, it's starting to get a little bit frothy. And that's good, but it needs to deepen and mix some more. So we're going to keep going.
Does the word roulette mean something? Is that a particular baking term?
Sorry, someone was saying something.
Does the word roulette mean something? Is it like a particular baking term?
I believe they're using a French term. A lot of Persian, a lot of Farsi uses French words. And so I'm not sure. I think it just means rolled up. If you think about the other kind of roulette, I think that means to roll the barrel of a gun, right? So I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, you got some chat things there.
Let's see. Alex says we have some more chat as well.
Oh no, okay. Those are just the two from before.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, we're gonna keep going. I don't know if you can tell from the camera, but it has gotten a much lighter yellow color and it's thickened up. Can I hear them?
Yeah, you should be able to.
Okay.
Oh, there's a chat.
Okay.
Chat says, my recipe calls for 1/3 cup white sugar in the ingredients list. Then it says then in the process you say to add half a cup of sugar. Which is it?
Oh, it's half. Sorry, it's a half a cup. Each of them are half a cup. Yes.
I can look this up if you want to show
Okay.
closer. So,
Trying to show you the color of the egg yolks there now that they're well incorporated. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is take our 1/2 cup of flour and mix with it our 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And just kind of mix that around to make sure it's incorporated into the flour. Okay, let's set that aside. And we're going to wash these really well. Now this is important. If you only have 1 set of beaters for your mixer, as I do, it's important to go ahead and wash your beaters well and dry them well before we start working on the egg whites. Oh, you know what we didn't do? Sorry, I got ahead of myself here. We didn't put the sugar in. I talked about the sugar and then didn't do it. Sorry. Let me do that real quick here. My 1/2 cup of sugar goes back into those egg yolks. Oops. What? There we go. All right, we're gonna incorporate the sugar real quick here. There we go, that should do it. Now we're gonna rinse those again. All right. Now back to the egg whites. All right. That those? Here, I can dry them real quick. All right. Now this talks about soft peaks and stiff peaks with your egg whites. And I'm sure a lot of you know what that means, but I'll try to show you it as I can while we're mixing them. All right, so I've just got the whites in here right now. We're gonna mix those on high.
Tamra, you're muted.
Forgot.
Sorry. So this, like I was saying, this is what I would consider a soft peak. When I pull that out, it'll make a little bit of a soft peak there, but it's gonna eventually fold itself back in. But what I was going to say is, if you're using a bowl that's a little bit smaller than mine, and your egg whites begin to come up to the top of your beater, the whole point of this is to incorporate air into the egg whites. So if that's happening, be sure as you're beating it to lift your mixer slightly here and there to be able to get more air into those egg whites. All right, so at that point, when you've got those soft white peaks in your egg whites, we're going to go ahead and slowly add another ½ cup of sugar as we're mixing until we get those stiff peaks. Okay, now we're back. All right, that's the end of the mixer. So hopefully we won't have to play with the mute anymore here and forget. Okay, so you've got those stiff peaks that you've got formed in there. You can kind of see where I pulled the beaters out, and it's got those stiff peaks that have formed. Now we're going to take our egg mixture that we had set aside, and we're going to very gently fold it into this egg white mixture. And you might need to give your egg yolk mixture a good stir before you start dumping it, just in case any of it settled in the bottom. Give it a nice stir. And then pour a little bit of it in, maybe half or so. And gently fold it over so that you're folding it in without really taking any of the air out of the egg whites. That's why we're not going to use the beater to do this. Okay. And then a little bit more. And then the last batch.
Cake instead of just finished. Yes. Can you pull it out or?
Is it brown a little bit?
A little
Is
bit.
it solid?
Yes.
Okay. let's just a second. Let me get this incorporated. So there you can see that. All right, you want to bring that over here. So our pumpkin roll has just come out of the oven, and just hold it under here. And you'll see that it's brown and it's spongy. So when you touch it, it'll kind of bounce back. So we're going to let that cool for about 5 minutes over on the side while we're finishing up the preparations for this one. Now that you've got this all nicely incorporated, and you'll see it's a really pale yellow color, we're going to go ahead and slowly, again, incorporate that flour and baking powder mixture. And this is a little bit more difficult to do in that it tends to want to clump up a little bit. So just gently keep folding it, being sure that you're scraping the very bottom of your bowl and the sides of your bowl.
While you're doing that, do you want to check in with people and see if people are...
Anyone have any questions or having any trouble with anything? They can hear me, right?
Yeah. Oh, there's a chat. No, that's an old chat. Right. Never mind. Yeah, that was the old chat before.
Okay.
Tamra, it looks like the spatula is crucial, right? To get a really good one.
It is nice to have a good spatula. I think this is a Tefal one that came with some pots and pans, but it is a really nice one. It's firm, and the spatula part of it is nice and firm too, but it has some give to it. So when I'm digging down in and pushing down, I'm like using that spatula kind of at an angle bent to make sure I'm getting all those corners of the bowl, because you can see how the flour keeps kind of trying to clump up here, and I need to make sure it's all mixed in.
Yeah, but not one. What should we do?
Takes a little patience, but it eventually all comes together, and it's still a nice fluffy batter. Okay. Now we're going to pull our pan back over here. And again, this is the one that has the flour on there as well, because as I said, this mixture is a little more sticky than the pumpkin roll. So again, we're going to pour it right into the pan. Okay. And again, I'm going to smooth it out to all of the corners, making sure that it's nice and even.
Would lining the pan with parchment paper be a good idea or not?
It's possible. I think you could do parchment paper if you prefer that. I've always done it with the flour, but if you want to give it a shot, I think it would probably work fine. Someone had asked if they could use parchment paper instead of the spray and the flour. Although some of the things I've been doing recently, I've been using parchment paper, and the recipes indicate that you should also gently spray the parchment paper. So I'm not sure how forgiving that would be, or how it would let go. Okay. And there we go. All right. So now this is ready, and we are also going to put it in that 375 oven, and it's going to cook for about 12 to 15 minutes, depending on your oven. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is show you how we turn out the cake once it's done. So let me get my, where did that towel go I had here, Alex? The clean towel. There we go. All right. So I'm going to take a clean dish towel and lay it out. Here, let's put this over there for now. Get it out of the way. Careful, it's got the liquid. All right. And then we're going to take, yeah, we can see that. Yes, okay. Then we're going to take our confectioner's sugar and sprinkle it over the towel.
Someone said that they tried using parchment paper for the pumpkin roll too.
Yeah, that might work fine. I think it might work better for the pumpkin roll than it would the cake roulette, just because of the way the batter reacts. But you could try it with either. Okay, and now I'm going to just gently kind of spread that all over the towel where I think my cake is going to lay out. Okay, I'll pull that aside over here a little bit. And is that cool enough for you to lift over here or no?
No.
Okay.
No.
No. It just needs to come over here.
Okay.
There we go. All right. Give me that so I can hold on here. I think the pan's still a little hot, but it's cooled for about 5 minutes. So as you can see, this is the way it comes out of the oven. We're going to run our wide spatula, and it doesn't have to be slotted. It could be a solid one, all around the edges, kind of tilting in as we go to kind of pull it up from the edge.
Parchment paper actually probably would have helped there. It would work, I mean.
And once we've done that, then we're going to take the spatula and work our way under and make sure that there's nothing sticking underneath there. We're going to do that all the way around the pan. There we go. All right, now can I have the other mitt right here, buddy? All right. So I'm going to lift the tray up, and when I do that, can you please pull the towel back over here? There we go. All right, now this can be a little bit messy, but we're just going to gently take this tray with 2 hands and dump it out onto the towel. And there we go.
Wow. It worked beautifully. No tears.
So this is now on the towel, and we've got that nice layer of powdered sugar, confectioner's sugar underneath. We're going to take a little bit more and sprinkle it over the top so that the towel doesn't now stick to this side of the cake, because this is a little moist, being that it was the bottom. Not yet. No. Okay. And now the fun part. Choose an end and lay the top over, and then make a roll and make it nice and tight, and just keep rolling.
Is it possible to use parchment paper for this instead of the towel?
I've never done it with parchment paper. All the recipes I've seen use a towel. It might work.
It needs to be flexible.
Yeah, it has to be very, very flexible. And it could be also that the towel is absorbing some of the moisture. I'm not sure. So when you get to the end, go ahead and roll it all the way to the end of your towel. And now you might have a little bit of powdered sugar coming out your ends here. So I usually try to just fold that up, and then I take this nice packet and I sit it in the refrigerator to cool. Okay, here we go. All right. So while that is cooling, we're going to go ahead and make the whipped cream for the cake roulette. And let's see, Alex, I need another clean mixing bowl and beater. Just wash those real quick. All right. And now I'm going to get my other tray over here. And I just pulled my heavy whipping cream out of the refrigerator because I didn't want it to warm up. It's really important that the whipping cream be very, very cold when you're mixing it. So I left it in the refrigerator until just now when I'm ready to get started. Getting my beaters here again. Okay. And one more. There we go. All right. Thank you.
Scrape it.
Here we go. All right. Now, this says this recipe uses about 3 cups of heavy whipping cream.
Do you want front or top?
I guess yeah, just like that. It's the top, right? Yeah. 2, 3. Okay. And this seems like a lot of heavy cream, but you're going to be using it for the filling and the frosting. So you need a lot. All right. Okay.
We're ready with the.
Now, once again, we're gonna be using the beaters, so it'll get loud. So we're gonna probably try to mute that for a few minutes because it does take some time for the whipping cream to begin to whip up. But what I'll tell you is, so we don't have to keep muting and unmuting. Once it starts to get fairly stiff, again, those soft peaks like we were looking for with the egg yolks, we'll start incorporating our sugar. And then at the very end, we'll incorporate the rose water. And if you don't have rose water, you can go ahead and use vanilla. That would be fine. Or if you have some other extract that you think would be fun, like an orange extract or a lemon extract or something like that, I think any of those, or a rum extract might also work well. It's just going to flavor your whipped cream and your filling. Okay, here we go.
Well, this is Carolyn with WPSU, and I'll do a blameless self-promotion for us in that tonight, when you're enjoying your pumpkin roll or your cake roulette at 7:30, you can also enjoy a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. We were gracious enough from our friends at Apple TV to be able to have PBS stations all across the country. We'll be airing it tonight at 7:30. We only get that one chance, and then we'll have a Charlie Brown Christmas on 13th. So we're just excited in public media that we get to share this tradition, and Tamra's doing such a great job. I think that'd be a good combination to enjoy your cakes and your rolls with like Charlie Brown Thanksgiving.
You often see pumpkin rolls frozen, or they'll come frozen if you get them from other places. Are both of these cakes easy to freeze and unfreeze?
Sorry, Tony, I couldn't hear you because I had the beaters on. What was that?
Are both of these cakes easy to freeze and use later?
Okay, I was going to mention that at the end, but the pumpkin roll, yes, you can most definitely make it in advance and freeze it, and it'll be great. It has no problem with that, and I'll go through that a little bit at the end about how I would do that. The cake or roulette, I would say absolutely not. The whipped cream is not going to freeze well. It needs to be made within a few hours of when you plan to serve it. So I would make it the day that you want to serve it. I decided that my bowl is going to be a little small for this. So I have gotten out a larger bowl, just again, because I want that air to be able to whip into here, and it was getting a little too deep. So I'm gonna, where's that spatula, Alex? Can I have that?
Mhm.
I'm gonna go ahead and put all my cream into this larger bowl.
Do you want to look at the?
There we go.
cake?
Yeah. Okay. He says he thinks our cake is about ready. So we'll bring that over. How much time was on that?
13, so it's 2 minutes off from 13.
Yeah, go ahead and put it back in for a little bit. I think a couple more minutes. Needs to be just a bit browner. Okay, we'll go back to whipping. So we'll mute again for a couple minutes. Okay.
Also, we have someone.
Now that I've made a huge mess with this whipping cream, I'm gonna have to clean my cabinets and my floor, everything. And if you have kids, this is where they're gonna wanna lick these. The beaters are gonna be delicious.
And the persons that said they were using the parchment paper said that it worked for the pumpkin roll. It worked really well. Easy
Okay.
to manage to flip and didn't stick at all.
Great, great. So we have confirmation that the parchment paper worked really well.
They did say they sprayed the paper lightly.
Oh, they sprayed the parchment paper lightly. Great. Okay. All right. Alex, can we bring the cake or roulette over here and let's show everyone what that came out like, so they'll know what that's supposed to look like when it's ready.
Very fluffy.
Okay. So you can see it's kind of a light golden brown, a little browner in some areas, but it also has a little bit of a crunch to it. You can see when I poke my finger there, you can see that it stays down and it kind of breaks the top crust. So that's what it's supposed to look like. Go ahead and sit that down here. All right. Let's put the whipped cream in the refrigerator for a few minutes.
Okay.
All right, and we're going to prepare another towel for turning out the cake. And then we're going to do the same thing again, where we're going to take the spatula and run it all the way around the sides. And as you can kind of see, maybe here, there's a little bit of a crunch to this one. Like I said, the egg whites give it a kind of a crunchy consistency on the top. And we do the same thing again, where we're going to take the spatula and run it underneath the bottom of the cake to make sure that it's completely raised up and not sticking in any of the areas. All right. And now, same thing again. It's fine. This one's not as warm. This we did leave this one cool out on a cooling rack for about 5 minutes also before we started trying to loosen it from the pan. And now again, we're going to just let it fall right over onto the towel. And there we go. Okay, back to the powdered sugar.
We'll be getting the other two out.
We'll
be getting the other two out after this.
And after we get this rolled up, yeah. Okay, here we go. That's my hand. All right. And once again, we're gonna turn it one way and put the top up and then slowly turn. Roll it up. There we go. And again, turn the corners up so you're not dripping powdered sugar everywhere, and sit that into your refrigerator to cool. All right. Now, Alex, if you would get in, no, put that in there. All right. Let's see, I got a little twisted. All right, in the drawer, the chiller drawer, there's one. All righty. Here we go. Now this is one that I made earlier, so it's been in the chiller drawer for quite a while. This is the pumpkin roll. Sorry, we're moving back and forth just because of the way we need to do this. Sorry, no, this is the the cake roulette, not the pumpkin roll. The pumpkin roll is cooling. This is the cake roulette, and as you'll see, we're gonna just turn the towel out and get the whipped cream.
So I'm going up if they can't follow these steps at this point.
And you'll see it kind of wants to continue to roll up, but that's okay because we're gonna fill it here in just a second. And I also have a platter ready to put it out on once we get that part done. All right, so we're gonna start at the end down here that wants to roll up and put some of our whipped cream all along there. And that'll hold it open a little bit as you're working on the rest of it. And put it right up almost to the edge. It's gonna squeeze out a little bit, so it doesn't need to go exactly to the edge, but pretty close there. Now go ahead and fill in the rest. And at this point, I have been keeping a chocolate bar also in the refrigerator to keep it nice and cold. It's right on the egg shelf, Alex, or the cheese butter shelf, right by your hand there. Yep, right there. You want to open that up for me? Now you don't have to do this on the inside. Sometimes I'll put it on the inside and sometimes I'll just keep it on the outside. Or if you have someone who doesn't care for chocolate, you don't need to do it at all. But what I'm going to do is take this chocolate bar. As you can see, it's just a plain chocolate bar. You can use a fancier, dark chocolate or something as long as it's shavable. And I'm using a vegetable peeler and I'm going to shave bits of this chocolate into my filling. Okay. Now I'm going to start on the end that was the one that wanted to roll up and go ahead. And you need to be firm with it, but not too firm because you do want the whipped cream to kind of stay where it's supposed to be. If you push too hard, the whipped cream is going to want to come right out. And as you get to the end, you'll have probably a little extra there at the end, and that's fine. As you can see, let that go ahead and mush together there. And now I'm going to turn this out onto the plate that I have prepared with that side down. Get this towel out of the way so I can show you some more here. Okay. Now, this is what we're going to have. So the seam side of the cake is down on the bottom. And the cake looks nice. Got it centered on our platter.
Do you want a front shot?
Hmm?
Do you want a front shot? Or?
No, this is fine. And now I'm going to go ahead and use the whipped cream to frost the rest of the cake.
A lot of people get me.
Use a little more to fill in the ends.
Your white balance on your top camera is getting a little wonky.
And it's fine if it kind of wants to puddle around the cake too. That's fine. It looks nice. turn it around and do the other side. So we just want it to look nice and snowy white and fluffy. I think my kitchen is a little warm from the oven being on for several hours today. So if you can make sure your kitchen isn't too warm, your whipped cream will do a little bit better and stay stiff a little longer. But it'll firm up again once we get it into the refrigerator. Okay, let me rinse my hands again.
Your phone camera's not doing well.
Okay. Alex says my phone camera is not liking the white of the cake, so we're gonna go to the front again and maybe tilt it down a little, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
That work? There we go.
Yeah,
All
that's a
right.
little better.
Now, also my chocolate bar has had a little time to warm up, so we're gonna see if it'll make curls yet. Sometimes it will. Sometimes it needs to be a little bit warmer to make the nice chocolate curls. I think it's still a little too cold. But again, I'm just gonna make those chocolate shavings all over the top of the cake. And if you don't like chocolate, you can do other things. I would avoid trying to do any sort of sprinkles or anything that's going to bleed into the whipped cream once it gets wet, once the whipped cream starts to kind of take it in, because you don't want it to look strange in that sense.
Okay, might be able to switch back to the top view at this point. Let's see. Yeah, it looks a little nicer.
Tamra, how old is this recipe? How long have you guys been serving this in relation to like pumpkin roll?
I don't know how far it goes back, to be honest with you. I tried to see, I looked that up and I couldn't find any reference to when it began. But I will say that a lot of the Persian desserts are very heavy on whipped cream. So I can see that this would be something that they would love, because one of the other things that we make a lot, and this whipped cream is the same for, would be cream puffs. And they're very, very popular in Iran. And they're made at all of the different little bakery shops. So you can get those almost on any street corner. And they're relatively inexpensive. Okay, so that is the cake roulette. And as I said, we would now put it into the refrigerator to make sure that the whipped cream doesn't start to melt. But this is what it would look like. And it makes a beautiful, fluffy white dish that you can serve. Oh, okay, this way?
Yeah.
All right, there we go. There we go. And I was gonna see if I could go ahead, and it might be a little tough to cut right now because it's not super cold, but I'm gonna give it a shot and see if I can give you a look at what it's gonna look like once it's cut. So. And I'm using a serrated knife to cut this. Like I said, it needs to chill a little bit more. But for now, this is what you would get. And of course, everybody wants the extra whipped cream on top. That's what everybody fights for. There we go. So this is the nice cake with lots of whipped cream. All right, and I will let Alex put this into the refrigerator, and we will work on finishing up the pumpkin roll. All right, clean this one up. Another tray out. All right. Now, for the pumpkin roll, I picked up, and I haven't done this before, but I thought it was a brilliant idea and I hadn't thought of it. The pumpkin roll normally is just with the cream cheese frosting. And then you, the cream cheese in the center, the cream cheese filling. And then you sprinkle powdered sugar over the top and it looks nice. But I found these candied pecans. Am I forward? There we go.
You can be it forward if you want.
Okay, candied pecans. I got these at Trader Joe's, but I think a lot of different supermarkets have them, or you can make your own. And I thought that would be a really, really nice flavor to add to the pumpkin roll. So I'm gonna do that in mine. So we're gonna get that pumpkin roll out. Think so?
Yeah, it's a little.
There we go. And the cream cheese filling.
Did you clean the spatula?
And Alex is correct in that this is a little warm. I would probably leave this in the refrigerator another like 15 or 20 minutes if I had the time right now. I don't. So I'm gonna just warn you that if you could leave it in there a little bit longer, that would be great. And again, we're gonna start at the end that was more tightly rolled with our cream cheese mixture that has also been in the refrigerator. Alex, can we go over top, please? And this is a little bit firmer. As you'll see, I kind of have to spread this more than I did the
little side.
whipped cream.
Checking with people. Asking how people's doing. Ask how they're doing.
I don't know if anyone else is going ahead and making this with me. Is that working for you? If you're making it as I am? Okay, now I'm going to turn it and start at the end that was rolled tightly. And it's same as the cake or roulette, or with any cake with a rolled up cake that has a filling like that. You want it to be, you know, somewhat firm in that you've got to keep it rolling, but you also don't want, you don't want to push too hard because you don't want to force it all out. Okay, let's pull this down, turn this over. And again, I'm gonna put that seam side down. All right, just pull this one out. There we go. And rinse my hands here.
With the warmth, you just let it peel like that.
Yeah, so what I want to point out is that mine did stick a little to my towel, even with all of that, and I think it's because of the warmth. If I had left it in there a little longer, it probably would have worked out much better. Where did the powdered sugar? Here we go. So, but no worries, because we're going to cover that up. Obviously, this gets a nice sprinkling of snow on top, because we all hope for snow on Thanksgiving, right? Here we go. now I want to go ahead and use some of those candied pecans that I found at the supermarket and just kind of decorate my cake on top with that. And I think they'll give us a nice flavor with each piece. Hello. My daughter's peeking in. It's her birthday, so she's heading out. She's 21 today. And there we go. So this is our now candied pecan pumpkin roll. But you don't have to do that, obviously. You can just go with the powdered sugar if you prefer. And once again, it's probably a little too warm to cut at the moment, but I'm going to go ahead and do that just to give you an idea of what that would look like. I think you saw it in our advertisement for this, if you also saw that, because I did one of these a few weeks ago when we were making the promos for today. So again, I'm using the serrated knife to cut it. Put that there, and then maybe put my little pecans right on top. And there we go. So this is the pumpkin roll. You can go that forward, Alex, and we'll get a forward also. All right, there we go. So you can see the pumpkin roll. You can add other things on top if you like. Maybe you want some shaved chocolate on that as well. It might be good. I like pumpkin and chocolate. So the cake, there we are. All right. So thank you all for sticking with us through all those technical issues as we got started and then having the internet go out, which was very odd. I do want to mention to everyone that in December, we're going to be doing holiday cookies from around the world. And we've chosen cookies from Japan, Brazil, Russia, and of course, Iran, because those are my favorite. And then coming up in January, we have a very special guest. Her name is Jinping Gu, and we call her Ping. And she is going to be doing Chinese dumplings with us in late January in preparation for Chinese New Year. So we'll move away from desserts and head into the more savory foods. Any other questions?
Lots of people saying thanks.
Okay, and if you cooked along with me, or if you're going to cook this later, maybe for your holiday meals, if you could take photos and send them to us, we would really appreciate it. You can just send them right back to the address, the email address that your reminder came from today. That's my email, and we would love to have your photos of what you did as well. And going forward, if anybody has any other suggestions or any requests, we're happy to take those too. So just send an email to me and we'll get back to you. I think that's everything. Thank you all.
Thanks, Tamra.
All right, let me turn it off.
Just leave meeting.
Yep. Bye-bye.